and then we will get started with this Q&A. Maybe? All right. Ba ba bee ba 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 boo. Ba ba bee ba 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 boo. Ba ba bee ba 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 boo. All right. Got a few people on here so far. So, gonna go ahead and just reset my dealio here. And then we will get started with some fantastic Q&A fun. All right, so, all right, there we go. Sorry, I just had a little funky glitch going on there, but we are back. Looks like we're good. Thrilled to be here. Can everybody hear me okay? Hopefully I'm coming through all right, and there's no issues here with sound or what have you. Thrilled to be here. Got a lot of fun stuff, and I actually wanted to start talking today about something, just bring up a topic and see what everybody else's thoughts are. I'm curious if anybody has watched the, thanks Sean, curious if anybody else here subscribed to the Marvel Zombies Come On Kickstarter. I'd be interested to know what your thoughts are on the what do you call it? The pledge, the shipping for the pledge. I'd be very interested to know what people's thoughts are about that. I got Robert Carroll here. Wants to know about the CRS, the Charlie Awards. We'll talk about that hopefully here shortly. I pledged $1. Thank God. Yeah, it was the pledge on that was a lot. It was that. So I pledged for it. I didn't go all in. I just went for the 2 core games, but it was nearly an $80 shipping, and that was like yikes. So that was pretty tough. So you probably were smart there to do the $1 there. But gosh, that was brutal. That was a lot more than I was expecting it to be. Speaking of Kickstarter, I've actually done a couple of Kickstarters this month. I did the DC Comics deck building game Kickstarter, and then I did the G.I. Joe Mission Critical Kickstarter, which I'm looking forward to both of those. Got a question here. Have you had a chance to get GMT's Plains Indians Wars? Highly recommended it, and I think you would enjoy it. I have a copy. I have not yet played it. I'm hoping to play it before too long. That's what I'm very much looking forward to, and looking forward to reviewing. I had a good friend of mine told me about it a while back, and he said it was a lot like 1775 Rebellion and the Birth of America series from Academy Games. And so I eat up those games quite a bit, so I like that. And I'm looking forward to it. And I got another GMT game that I'm going to be reviewing here before too long. So Robert Carroll, whom you will recall won our contest a little while back, he just messaged me here for the 2021 Charles S. Roberts Award ballot, CSR Award awards, and so I guess it's just a board gaming award. I was actually unaware of this. I didn't even know about this. But the 2021 Charles S. Roberts Awards ballot round 1. So it looks like there's a lot of fun things on there you can vote for. So check it out. Your friend is correct. It is very similar. Yeah. Well, I thought I heard that the designer of, or not, yeah, the designer of the Plains Indians game, he was influenced by that. I heard that that's something that he was, he was looking at that and he wanted to build it with this theme. So that's cool. And I love that. I love that system. I've heard rumors that we're going to see more of that system from Academy, but I don't know exactly what, and I don't want to tell tales out of school, but I think maybe we got more coming down the pipeline, so I think that would be a very, very cool thing. Designation, ever played or collect any miniatures war games? What's your thoughts? So, well, I mean, really the only miniatures games I really invested in were the Star Wars X-Wing and Star Wars Armada, which I think are both a lot of fun. I think Armada is a better game. As far as war games, not really. Back in the day, I bought some of the Axis and Allies miniatures, and I played with them a little bit, but I don't know, it didn't really thrill me. Played a little Warhammer, but I never collected it or anything. And I've got one of the sets of Flames of War, and I keep saying I gotta try that out because everybody goes on and on about Flames of War. I'd actually, if I were a painter or something though, I'd love to do like Napoleonic warfare miniatures. I think to me that'd be so much fun. The uniforms were so cool and the style of warfare was so good. No more beer. No, it's still here. It's just cloaked. You just can't see it. It's still there though. All in free shipping to USA over 30 pounds of game. Euthia? I don't know what that is. Euthia all in? I don't know. That's pretty good though. All in free shipping. I like that. Say, with your professional background in World War II history, I'd be really interested to get your take on the Ukraine war, either here or on your other channel. Yeah, check out. I'm really, so right now it's the end of the semester, and it's just really, I'm really kind of busy. But I got some plans to do some stuff and talk about Ukraine war on my other channel, and I'll kind of go into depth there. But that, yeah, it's fascinating what we're seeing and the way it's playing out, and frankly the way it could get really scary real quick, right? But no, we'll save that for my other channel. So just give me some time, and we'll definitely address that. Speaking of Kickstarters, I thought about maybe doing a video just going through my Kickstarter history, because I haven't done that many Kickstarters. I've done maybe a dozen Kickstarters of games. And I don't know, is that something people would want to see? And I think some of them I never even played. I think some of them I ended up just giving away or selling or something like that. But I don't know. I kind of like to go back and revisit what games. I'm trying to think if I even got any Kickstarters that I still have that I've. Well, Secret Hitler, I did that Kickstarter, I know. I'm trying to think what else I did that was a Kickstarter that I still have. Oh, Batman, Gotham City, I still got that one. Oh, and Eclipse, I got Eclipse, which was a Kickstarter. Golly, I don't know. That might be it. There's that period when no, I didn't do the War Room Kickstarter. They actually sent me. They sent me a review copy of War Room. Leaving out Risk, what would you say is far and away the best Ameritrash dice roller combat game out there? I guess Axis and Allies, maybe. Because I think Axis and Allies are Risk's best dice roller miniatures games. All right, not miniatures games, but Ameritrash games. They're both fun, and they both have their. I never really played a lot of regular Risk though. I always played when I was in high school. We played like Castle Risk all the time. We got a big kick out of Castle Risk. We loved Castle Risk, but I didn't play too much regular Risk. And now I've got the Star Wars Risk, which isn't really a Risk game. And then I've got Risk Legacy, but I still haven't played Risk Legacy. It's kind of hard to do the Legacy games, but Risk Europe is good. I actually did like Risk Europe. I think I ended up giving that away when I moved to Texas. I think I ended up giving Risk Legacy away. But I did like Risk Europe. Sorry, I did like Risk Europe. I thought that one was it had, you're right, it had a little oomph to it. But yeah, your Castle Risk was cool just because it had the like secret armies and stuff like that you could do that. And that was too part. I don't know that I get as big a kick out of it today, but it was when I was a kid. It was just kind of one of those games that was just like, um, there's a big nostalgia factor because I was playing that with all my friends. We were playing that and Axis and Allies in high school a lot, and then like I think it was right after I graduated high school, I got Diplomacy, and we started playing Diplomacy a lot, and that became like one of our go-to games for a long. There's about a good year, maybe two, where we were playing Diplomacy nearly every week. I mean, we just were eating Diplomacy up. Um, I know you did some movie episodes. Do you have a favorite movie or some favorites? Oh yeah. If you get in my head, I think my two favorite movies of all time, I would probably say are Citizen Kane and Doctor Strangelove. I love Doctor Strangelove. Kubrick's probably my favorite director. And so I love Doctor Strangelove because it's so quirky and silly, and I mean it's a black comedy about nuclear war. What's not to love, right? And Peter Sellers is great, and George C. Scott is great, and I love that film so much. And then I like Citizen Kane a lot. I really love Citizen Kane because that's a film. Every time you see it, you get something new out of it. Every time you see Citizen Kane, there's just some little nuance that you're like, oh, that's so cool. And it's like every time. I actually haven't watched it for a few years, but there was a time where I was watching Citizen Kane at least once a year, and it was just like, oh wow. And there's just so much symbolism. And then when you think that Orson Welles was like 26 years old when he made that film, it's just amazing. So I really like those. They're probably my two favorite. It has just enough depth for an adult while letting kids play too. Oh, Risk Europe, yeah, right, right, right. Any thoughts on the second coming of Pacific War now by GMT? No, I'm probably not. It's probably not one I'm going to play. Just I can't. I kind of made a decision a few years ago that war games that are just too intense, not too intense, too long and too complex are they're not fun for me. There's kind of a point of diminishing returns because I do like games that are long and I do like games with complexity, but the fun factor's still got to be there. Like I play a game of War Room and I'm having fun throughout, but if I play a hex encounter game for more than 4 or 5 hours, I kind of lose interest, and I realize I might be in a minority there, and a lot of grognards eat that stuff up, but I don't. I kind of tend to lose interest with hex encounter games after a few hours, so. No real thoughts on Pacific War. But I mean, that's not to say I think it's a bad game. It's probably a great game. It looks like a great game. And maybe, who knows, maybe sometime I'll try it, but I'm not in any hurry for it. Do you have inside access on Stellaris board game development? Communication isn't the best. Um, Last I heard, they're looking probably at late summer, is what I've heard. Um, I haven't been in a lot of contact with Academy lately. Um, but my feeling with Kickstarters is as soon as I make and I remember Tom Vazel did a video about this, nearly 10 years ago, and just as I was starting to do Kickstarters, and I remember he said something, and it's wisdom, and it's something that he said that I liked a lot, and he said, when you do a Kickstarter, go ahead and put your money in, and then forget about it because it's probably not going to arrive on time. There are probably going to be delays. And then when it finally does arrive, it's a pleasant surprise. I think the longest I ever waited for a game was 3 years. There was a game I actually, it was Burning Suns, and I never ended up playing it. I ended up giving it to a friend of mine. It was kind of like a Twilight Imperium type of game, but I think I was moving and I just didn't have room, and so it was not an inexpensive Kickstarter, but I went ahead and I gave it away. Oh well. So yeah, I guess that's just my advice. I mean, hopefully we'll get Stellaris out pretty soon, and hopefully I can get a review copy. And I didn't pledge that one because Academy said they'd send me a review copy after I made my video where I talked about it, not before. I did not. I made a video about Stellaris just because I think it looked awesome, and I didn't. There was no quid pro quo or anything. It was just after that was over, I said, I guess the campaign was still going on, and I said, hey, will you send me a review copy? And they said, oh, sure, we'll send you a review copy when it's ready. So I didn't pledge that one, but looking forward to it. I think that looks great. I like the video game Stellaris, but I don't love it. There's stuff about it I'm not quite in love with, but I'm hoping with a streamlined board game, it'll be really cool. It does look awesome. Waiting for that instead of last night. Last night. Last light. Yeah, okay. GMT's always got stuff I'm interested in, though. Hi, Duck Overlord. I always like GMT stuff. They got the one about Czechoslovakia, the Munich Agreement, that looks really good, and they've got one about was it the French Resistance or something? I think they got one about the French Resistance coming out, and then the Prime Minister one about I think it's like Gladstone and Disraeli or something like that. That one sounded really interesting to me. They've always got something on. There was something else they just added, like the P500. I can't remember what it was, but it looked like freaking awesome. When did you shave your beard? I didn't. It was a freak lawnmower accident. It was just like, really? No, 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I shot all my latest reviews before then. So, there comes a point. Well, thank you, I appreciate that. But there comes a point where you start to look too much like an Old Testament prophet, and it's a different kind of gravitas. How would you go about designing a game set in an alternate history? There's so much to another world that I find it hard to think up game designs for. Well, I actually have an idea for an alternate history game I've wanted to do for a long time. But I mean, what exactly are you having trouble with? Kind of the point of divergence. I used to write alternate history stories, and I was a big fan of Harry Turtledove. I read a lot of his novels, and you pick your point of divergence, what little thing changed history. But then fundamentally, you make the game as well as you can, with what mechanics you think will work in a given scenario. I don't see it as being that different from any other theme or historical theme, or science fiction theme or fantasy theme or what have you. But that's just me there. Will Ares ever release Kings of Middle Earth? I don't know. Don't know. I actually contacted Ares about something the other day, and I haven't heard back from him. I used to have a pretty good relationship with Ares, but we haven't had a lot of interaction lately. So, after Clash of Cultures, not many 4X Kickstarters seemed interesting enough to need. It kind of beats them all for me. Yeah, I guess Eclipse is 4X though, and I really like Eclipse. It's funny. It's funny how much I like Eclipse because it looks like a kind of a dry Euro, but it's really a good civilization building game. Speaking of which, has anybody played? There's a couple of games I was thinking about getting. Was the Osprey Legacy, Imperium Legacy? I heard that one was really good, and Tapestry from Stone Mare. I've reviewed a lot of Stone Mare games, but they never seem to have review copies, and I was thinking about buying one, but I don't know. Probably won't be for a little while because I'm sinking all this money into these Kickstarters. So I don't know. Has anybody played these Legacy Imperium or Tapestry? I'd be interested to know your thoughts. I'm struggling. Okay, I'm starting to figure out what to set the game on. The politics change, the world changes, the corporate landscape changes. What to make the game about inside the alternate history? Well, like I said, pick a time period. If you're going to make a World War II one, one where the Nazis won the war, or the Confederates won the war, or the Roman Empire never fell. I think there's a lot of just I guess pick a time period you're interested in, and just ask yourself what if. I think the theme, personally, I think the theme would be the easiest part of it. Um, are there any historical wars that you wish were board games? People. Somebody's asked me that before, and I can't really think of one because I think they got them. I know they're doing. They got the coin game coming out about Finland, but that's like in the. Isn't that like during the Russian Revolution? I think. Because I was thinking, I'm sure there's probably one about the Winter War between Finland and the Soviet Union in 1940. You know what I'd like to see, and I know I saw on Board Game Geek there was a game about this, but I'd actually really get a kick out of seeing a war game based on a more modern war game based on the Louisiana maneuvers of 1941 with the Red Army and the Blue Army. I've actually done research. I've written a little bit on it, and I'd be tickled to death to see a a game based on the Louisiana maneuvers because I think it's a fascinating period there. Um, I have a new alternate history. What if Germany won World War II is so overused, but my idea is what if Germany lost World War II, but harder? Sorry for the bad grammar. Lost it harder. Do you mean like sooner? Like the Soviets just tear through them or something? That could be interesting. Um, what about, yeah, the Soviets take over Germany in World War II, and then you've got like World War III breaking out with the Soviet Union in Germany. There's fun stuff to think about, right? Or what if the Cold War what if the Cold War turns into a world war, but there's no atomic weapons. The atomic bomb was never developed, so I don't know. There's no restraints, I guess. Um, or what about Germany winning World War One? I think that could be a very fun scenario, right? Um, there's a novel I read years ago about in the middle of World War II, the British go to attack the North. They end up attacking the South. So the North and the South create this kind of temporary truce right at the beginning of the Civil War, so they can both fight England. I thought that was a pretty interesting story. But any comment how Madagascar Games ruined their goodwill with how they bungled the Blood and Sand Kickstarter? I'm not familiar with that. What happened there with Blood and Sand? I actually hadn't heard about that one. That's interesting. I won't buy any Stonemaier games as they are going full woke. Don't know that if that bothers you. LOL. I don't know. I hadn't heard. I know he'd kind of written some things in the past that were some people found offensive, and he apologized. But beyond that, I don't know if he's going full woke. I don't know. To be honest, I haven't been paying attention. Alternate history. Read some Phil K. Dick. Well, Man in the High Castle was a great book. Harry Turtledove, though, has probably written more alternate history stories than anybody else. The first alternate history story I ever read was Fatherland by Robert Harris, which is a great novel. That's one of the few novels I've read more than once. But it's a really good book about a German victory in World War II, and there's a Cold War between Nazi Germany, which controls all of Europe, and the United States, and I really like that. Good idea. Kaiserreich, yeah, Kaiserreich. Any thoughts on the new game Larry Harris is developing with Nightingale, Imperial Borders? Yeah, I think it's gonna be great. I think it looks like it's gonna be fantastic. I can't wait to play it. It's kind of funny though because I mentioned this before. I've been developing a game for years now, and I gotta get off my butt and get it done. But it's set about the Congress of Vienna, and now Larry Harris has Imperial Borders coming out, which is about the Congress of Vienna, and GMT has a game coming out about the Congress of Vienna. And my game, from what I've seen of those other games, my game is going to be a lot lighter. My game would be a lot lighter version of the subject matter, but I got to get it done. So there's interest. I actually nearly had Academy publish it, and we just kind of went our separate ways, but all very amicable, very friendly. But so I don't know. Yeah, I'm looking forward to his game a lot. I'm looking forward to Larry Harris's game a lot. The After War Room, bring it on. Have you read Have you read 1984? If not, yes, I read 1984 in high school. I love it. It's one of my. In fact, I would say 1984 or The Killer Angels by Michael Shara is my favorite novel. So it's tied for favorite novel. I love 1984. Absolutely great book. Why don't we do a game based on 1984? the war between Oceania and Eastasia or Eurasia, and the alliances shift, and you're not really fighting the war to win the war, but maybe there are other objectives. I think that'd be really cool. Madagot lied to their backers on the delivery of Blood and Sand. They needed more cash and sold the backers pledges to retail partners and told the backers to sit and wait. Oh, yeah, that's not cool. In fact, Madagot, because their new Kickstarter raised less than half of what Blood and Sand. Oh, yeah, not cool. That's not cool. That is not cool. Stone Mayor apologized for including conquistador cards in Viticulture World. Sets a bad precedent because of how all historical figures might get there. Yeah, I must confess I'm not a fan of that kind of historical. People didn't live up to our standards today, so they're canceled. I must confess I'm not a fan of that. Now I don't know exactly what happened here with Stone Mayor, so I'm not going to comment specifically on that. But the idea of going back into history and kind of putting everybody under the microscope of today's standards, yeah, it's problematic. As a historian, I'm not a fan of that. But 1984 is interesting. Also, high school. hmm But we live in 1984. No thanks. It's very, very true. Same thing happened in Five Tribes. They removed the slave cards. Yeah, I remember. I remember when that happened. I remember when they came out with Five Tribes, and I did a video about Five Tribes that was on the Dice Tower, and I was just joking about it, and I can't even remember what the joke was. But somebody got on there and they said, "Oh, it's a reference to the slave cards in Five Tribes." I'm like, "No, it's not." Actually, there was a thread on Board Game Geek and actually got on there and said, "Oh, I'm referring to the slaves in Five Tribes." That's news to me, and it was just like it was the most surreal thing to think somebody was taking just this little innocent, stupid joke I was making, and they thought it was about something completely different. Um, did any of these Ameritrash impress you? Earth Reborn, Warrior Knights, Rune Wars. I hadn't played Earth Reborn. I always wanted to play Warrior Knights, but I never played that. But I heard that was a great game. And I played Rune Wars, and I was really disappointed with it. I, I was thinking it was going to be like a fantasy version of Twilight Imperium, and it had elements of it, but there were just some mechanics in it and systems that just were so unnecessary. And it did have the card combat. I actually thought the card combat, I wasn't looking forward to it. I thought it looked kind of dumb, but I actually ended up liking the combat. But as a whole, it just kind of didn't come together for me. I think it felt to me like it had the bones, the structure of a better game, but ultimately it was disappointing for me. Most everyone I know has got banned on BGG. Well, the world we live in, get used to it. I guess the answer to that is, people should make a counter to it, or be Elon Musk and buy BGG. Right, removing history from history is not history. Exactly, exactly. Are you looking forward to Dominion and Brain expansions for Star Trek Ascendancy, and do you think we'll see them in 2022? I do think we will see them in 2022, and yes, I'm very much looking forward to them. I love Star Trek Ascendancy. It's funny because I had Star Trek Ascendancy for years. I played it a few times, and I really liked it. And then just last year, I'd never played it with any of the expansions. And then last year, Gale Force 9 sent me like all the expansions. So I reviewed them all and really had a lot of fun with them, and absolutely looking forward to the expansions with this one. Absolutely. These new expansions. I got banned on BGG several times. Running afoul of BGG. It is what it is. It's their website. They can do what they want as far as I'm concerned. That's not something like a Facebook or a Twitter that's like everybody uses. So, like I say, build a better one, I guess, is the answer. Ever played Fantasy Realms? I got it from family for Christmas, and it's awesome. I don't know if you like some mathematical figuring out. I haven't played Fantasy Realms. I played Red Rising, which is the Stonemaier Games kind of version of that mechanic. And then I played the Star Trek Missions, which is the Star Trek version of Fantasy Realms. And then I just got, a couple of days ago, the Marvel Remix, I think it's called, which is the Marvel Superheroes version of Fantasy Realms. Haven't played it yet, but I really like the Star Trek one, and I like the Red Rising too. I think they were both a lot of fun. You have to be a fine line on BGG or you are gone. I don't know. I don't spend a lot of time on BGG. I mean, I post my stuff there, but I don't really get involved in the threads and stuff that much. What are your thoughts about the complicated war games like Advanced Squad Leader and Great Battles of History? Again, and I mentioned this earlier, if it's too complex, I'm kind of not interested. I can still see the appeal, but it gets to be much. There's some games I own that I would say are on my kind of my higher level of complexity, and I've never played ASL, and I don't really have much of a desire to. And I know there's a lot of people there that love it and play it, and more power to them. I just don't know that it's for me. I think the complexity level might be a little bit too much for me there. You mentioned coin games briefly. Do you have a favorite? I have not played any of the coin games. That's what I'm a little intimidated by, and it's one that I want to find someone who owns them that can teach me. However, I'm really looking forward to that Mars one. I think that Mars one looks freaking awesome. So I may check that one out, and then I may have to go back and play some of the others because well, we'll see. We'll see what happens here. Favorite race in Star Trek Ascendancy? I really got a kick out of the Vulcans with that kind of their secret objective. I think they're kind of fun to play, and how they got the ambassadors and stuff. It's just I like it because of all of the races in Star Trek Ascendancy, the Vulcans seem the most asymmetrical. They're the most different, and I like playing them, and I like playing games with them in it, even if I'm not playing them, because there's that. Okay, I got to keep an eye on that, and so I dig that. Let's see. I'm sorry to have to go, but I have an early morning tomorrow. Thank you. Hey, thanks, Sean. Thanks for sticking in. Yeah, if you go along with the left wing narrative, you won't get banned. Well, you know what? I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to go any further into politics. If you guys want to talk about it, I mean, that's fine, but I'm not going to address that anymore. I just might, and I'll tell you why. Like everybody else, I have pretty strong views on a lot of issues. But the reality is, one of the big, and I don't want to wax religious or anything, but I'm a man of faith too, and I got to tell you, I really think that for me, one of the big reasons I do what I do is because I really and truly believe board games are a way to bring people together, to knock down walls, and so I don't like to throw them up. And I know some people do, and some people get banned on things, and it's unfortunate. And some people dig in their heels, and it just makes them angrier. I'd rather find common ground. Maybe that makes me weak, but that's how I feel. So that's why I really don't get into politics too much on the channel here. Any chance you'll get a review of Downfall from GMT? The game concept sounds quite interesting. It's possible. I'll have to look into that one. I know it's ringing a bell, but I can't remember off the top of my head there. Yeah, among the coin games you tried, which one is the best at 4? Yeah, again, I haven't played any of the coin games. Looking forward to it eventually, though. Do you ever go back to your early videos and wish you could change anything? Oh yeah, I mean, some of those early videos were pretty rough, and you kind of think maybe I could tweak things, but I think technically I got a little bit better at them. But of course, my first videos, we did their sketches that I wrote, and they were so much fun, but they were just exhausting. It was taking me 2 weeks to put out one video, and I put a lot of love and a lot of time into those things, and they're great. And I'm so glad I did it. I wish I had the time and the ability to do that now, and unfortunately I don't. And the resources and one of the reasons I did this is because all my friends were actors, and so I had all these actor friends that were in it. But play more Ascendancy. Coin aren't too bad. Watch Rodney Smith's playthrough of Cuba Libre. Yeah. Let's see. Cuba Libre is a good place to start with coin. Not that daunting. Do, 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 do. Okay. Favorite video game growing up, and did you master it? Well, I guess it depends. When I told this, I did like my top 10 favorite video games a while back, and I did, I talked about Adventure on the Atari 2600, which I loved. I got hit by a car when I was 6 years old, and it was really bad. They thought I was going to die, and it was I kind of ended up making a really rapid recovery. But you're a kid and you're in the hospital and it sucks. And I remember my dad told me, he says, when you get out, I'll buy you a game for the Atari. And so I was super excited. And of course, when I go to pick out my game, my older brother says, "Oh, this is the game we want." And so I go, "Okay, let's get that one." But it was Adventure, and then he ended up playing it far more than I did. But I really played Adventure quite a bit. I really enjoyed it. No, I never. I think eventually I beat like the easy level, and then I kind of said done. But anyway, uh, you know what? Let's not call anybody out. Let's just, we're all friends here. We're all friends. Uh, what is your favorite war game from the last 5 years? War Room, hands down. War Room, love War Room. Uh, you should check out HBG's Global War Series. Yeah, I had a friend of mine in Texas, and God bless him, he passed away from COVID. It was really sad, but I know he was showing me some of those. He had he brought one time we were looking at it. Looked pretty cool. Now I'm sad. uh, Cody, do you have any specific traditions that you personally observe pertaining to Memorial Day? Any that may involve games specifically? Not really. It's a time for reflection, and I think about it, but I don't do not a lot of ritual or anything. But I mean, obviously, I think a lot about it. Usually, sometimes maybe I'll post something on Facebook, God bless our armed forces. Good day to you, glowing turtle. How many expansions can a game have before it has too many expansions? That's a good question. Eldritch Horror. It seemed to me that hit a point of no returns, pardon me, a point of diminishing returns, and I stopped collecting it because it just seemed got too much. And the X-wing miniatures, the X-wing or Star Wars Armada, both kind of got to the point where it's like diminishing returns. I don't know if there's a set number, and if there's a game like I'll tell you this right now, Marvel Legendary. I think I've got everything, and I'll continue to get everything. To me, so far, there's not been a point of diminishing returns. I'm really enjoying everything they put out. I'm enjoying collecting it. So I think it depends on the game. Have you ever been invited to promote your channel on the Dice Tower? Yeah, years ago. Right after I started, Tom actually asked me to do segments on the Dice Tower, and I did for maybe a year. I contributed little 2-minute videos to the Dice Tower, and it was a lot of fun. And I was actually, it's funny you bring that up because I was actually thinking maybe I talk to Tom and see if there's room for me to do anything else to promote the channel and to kind of contribute to what they're doing there. I don't know. The problem is I'm so busy now, but we always had a lot of fun. It was always a lot of fun doing stuff with Dice Tower, and I kind of miss those days. Yeah, some people, it's true. Some people get COVID, and it doesn't phase them at all. Other people, I actually lost a couple of friends from COVID. I actually lost one of my very best friends on this planet to COVID, and last August, and I grew up with him. He was a Marine, Semper Fi. I love the guy, and it is what it is. Off Board Games. Did you play Red Dead Redemption 2? I did. I actually preferred the first one, but I liked the second one. I thought the second one was a lot of fun. Great open world experience. Scale of 1 to 10. How cold does your face feel today? What is it? You want to know something? It was actually really cold today. It was starting to warm up, and then today it actually snowed here in Rock Springs. It didn't stick, but it was snowing, so it was pretty cold. So yeah, I missed it today. Thank you, Duck Overlord. Ritual was the word I was looking for. Yeah. Cody, see you later. I love your stuff, man. Thank you, Messing Up Rules. Have you played any Phil Eklund games? Yes, I played, the space one, Horizon, and then Bios Megafunda. Played them both, and they were both too complicated for me. I didn't care for them, but that was back when I was starting board games. If I played them now, I'd probably be okay with them. But when I played them, and I thought the rule books were horrible, though. I did not like the rule books. I did not have a good experience. Some people love his games, and more power to them. Not for me. X-Wing Jump, the Shark, when it launched 2.0, and FFG hammered up players. Yeah, I was not a fan. I actually had stopped collecting before they came out with the second edition. They sent me a copy of the second edition, which I reviewed, and then I think I ended up giving it to a friend or something because, yeah, I was just like, yeah, I'm not doing this. Of course, I was never a tournament guy, though. I mean, I just played for fun, but that kind of bugged me. I had a bad cold from COVID. Some people did all right, you know. Some people have very bad cold. It knocked me out for about a day. I was completely out of it. Yeah, I was exposed to you via your time on Board Game Breakfast. Good skits. Thanks. Yeah, we had a lot of fun back then. Will you launch GameFund or Kickstarter for your games? No, I'm not gonna. If I wouldn't publish one myself. If I were gonna do it, I'd want to work with an established company. Um, I I got a buddy of mine, and he was really always trying to get me to start a game company with him. I'm like, I don't know the first thing about publishing, and I would not start a company if I didn't know the first thing about it. If I was serious about wanting to become a board game guy, I would seriously spend 2 or 3 years in that industry, in publishing, not necessarily in board game publishing, but in publishing, to try to understand the ins and outs of that. Because I see too many people. We've seen too many people. Oh, we got a great idea for a game, and then there's problems because they don't know how to manage it right, and I wouldn't do that. Are you enjoying solo games at all these days? If so, which ones? Yeah, I play a lot of solo games. I put up a top 10 solo games a while back, but Worthington's just killing it with solo games. Solitaire Waterloo, Solitaire Bismarck. They're reprinting some of the stages siege games like Soviet Dawn. Um, Playing a lot of Marvel Legendary solo. There's a lot of great games that play solo. A lot of good stuff solo. When you received the KS game, the hype is gone. Well, still can't wait for my Final Girl. Final Girl is great. You're going to get a kick out of Final Girl. I really enjoyed Final Girl. It's good stuff. But you're right. There's something to be said about when it comes out and there's the hype and you get the FOMO and I mean that's a big part of Kickstarter. And then when it actually arrives, it's gone. But you still got the game, right? Which is what you paid for. But Final Girl is awesome. Do you have any feeling about FFG's Arkham Horror and its numerous expansions? Did it have too many expansions like Eldritch Horror? So I played the second edition of Arkham Horror once or twice, and I liked it. I didn't love it at a friend's house. And then I actually bought the third edition, and I was really disappointed in the third edition. So I never played any of the expansions. I think I ended up selling or giving away the one I bought, the Arkham third edition, because I was not terribly impressed with that one. Oh, I'm sorry, man. That's your games of war games. Your COVID sounds miserable. That's not cool. Hopefully, it's dying out now. I mean, it's always going to be around. I don't think we'll ever get rid of it entirely, but hopefully, it'll significantly be curtailed. Do you find people to play with in Rock Springs, or do you have to drive for hours? I've got some friends here in Rock Springs. I got a neighbor, and he's my neighbor in my apartment, and he's my neighbor at work. He lives in the office next to me, and he's actually going to be leaving. He's actually got another job. He's going to be moving, but he'll play with me sometimes. And then there's a guy from my church who will play sometimes. Not a real good dedicated group, but occasionally, I got someone to play with, which is cool. High Frontier, yes, High Frontier. Thank you. PAX Renaissance is a masterpiece. Yeah, I've heard people say it's a good game, but I've not played it. Are you a fan of Kickstarter games, or do you just buy retail when it comes out? As I mentioned, there's a few. Earlier in the sketch, I was asking, and I'll ask it again. Did anybody back the Marvel Kickstarter game, the Zombies game? Because I was talking about shipping at the beginning of this session. Interested to know what people's thoughts are on that. Occasionally, I do a Kickstarter. I don't do a lot of them. I did just recently. I did I did the Marvel Zombies, a few months ago, and then the last few weeks I did the DC Comics deck building game Kickstarter, and I did the Renegade GI Joe miniatures game Kickstarter. Have you played PAX Vikings? I have not. Who prints it? I'm still waiting for the Cash and Gun solo game. Yeah, good luck with that. How about the Russian version of Cash and Gun solo? Big letdown. I loved Arkham Second Edition. I wish I had gotten it all before it became so hard to collect. Yeah, I know I got friends that absolutely loved it. Thought it was a great game. Where do you find the amazing jokes and dad jokes for your videos? I love them. Oh, you'd be amazed. That's a lot more work than you'd think it'd be. Um, I actually some days I'll just be collecting jokes. I'll write down jokes on my phone. Oh, that'd be a good joke. And then sometimes if I don't have enough, I just go on the internet and where are the jokes? Hopefully I'll find some. So I plagiarize a lot of my jokes, is what I'm saying. Um, Sometimes inspiration hits though, and I'll come up with stuff. Um, I made a solo Western game with a Red Dead feel called The Drifter. The Western is really an underutilized setting. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Though, good luck to you. I hope you can get that published or publish it yourself. Best of luck to you. Miniatures, yay or nay? I'm a collector, so I feel like I have to buy everything for a game for me to enjoy it. And I used to feel that way too. I used to be kind of a completist, and in some ways I still am, but not like I used to be. And as far as miniatures, like I say, the only miniature games I've ever really collected is X-Wing miniatures and Armada. And even then, I kind of had to let it go after a while. It just got too much. The only reason I can justify all the games I buy is that I got a wife and 6 kids that love board games. Never a shortage of players. Now that's awesome. I gotta be honest with you, man. I envy you. That's cool. Do you have any GMT games on the P500 list that interest you? Yeah, oh yeah. I was just talking about some. They got the Prime Minister game I'm looking at, and they got the one about the Munich conference, and I think they got one about the French Resistance. So yeah, there's a lot. And I'm thinking they just added one that I saw that looked really cool, and I can't even think about what it is. But do you find X-Files Upper Deck almost impossible? What do you do? I'm trying to remember if I've ever won Legendary X-Files. I don't know that I ever have. It's a tough game. That's probably the toughest Legendary game I've played. But I still like it. I still have fun with it whenever I play it. Still waiting for GMT's distribution of Consim Press's The Russian Campaign. How do you feel about classic games getting redone? Classic games getting redone into modern games, I think that's great if they take the time to improve it. If you just take the old game and pretty much just put the same thing out there, I guess it's good to have a reprint of the game. But I would much rather, because there seems to me there's a lot of good games that could have been improved upon. It was like when Fantasy Flight Games, 2012, they re-released Fortress America. And they made a few little tweaks, but there really should have been a lot more tweaks. I think that was a real missed opportunity to make a really great game, and they didn't take it there. I'm looking forward to Prime Minister very much. Yeah, it looks great. Looks great. Evening, Cody. Have you ever had a chance to try out BattleTech Alpha Strike? I have not. I don't think I've ever played a BattleTech game. Have you ever tried the Vietnam reprint? I have not. I honestly, I don't know that I've ever played a board game with a Vietnam theme. I'm trying to think if I have. I don't think I have. Sorry for so many state of the industry questions. Did you hear that IDW shut its games division? Yeah, I did. It canceled its much anticipated Metal Gear Solid board game. Yeah, I heard IDW shut down their games, which is too bad because they, I don't think I've gotten anything from IDW in a while, but back in the day, they were publishing a lot of stuff I had fun with. So that's too bad. You know what? I got to be honest. Whenever a game company goes under, I kind of feel bad about it. Order Fields of Despair, 2nd edition on the GMT P500 list. Yeah, Fields of Despair is great. Fields of Despair is really a fantastic game, and I haven't played it for years. But Fields of Despair is a great block war game, and they've got the what do you call it? Well, they got the blocks, but the numbers on the blocks are so big, and you got like the die matrix, and to me it's just one of the most. It was one of the most fun I'd have ever had with a war block game like that. And my only caveat was I almost kind of wished they had not even bothered with the rest of the war, because you have all this abstract stuff for the war at sea. You've got abstractions for the Eastern Front, and I just kind of wish they just kind of limited it to the Western Front, which is what it was, instead of kind of trying to bring in the whole war. But the war stuff's fun. It's still a fun game. I still enjoyed it very much. Um, Konami has not been willing to relicense the Metal Gear Solid to the designer to self-publish because now they have their own plans for the property. Do you think are they gonna do a board game with it, or Metal Gear is a great video game. I remember back in the day playing Metal Gear. Brian Foley, I had the original Victory Games Vietnam War, and it was way too complicated and not at all suited for solo play, which is what I have to play. I have no opponents. Yeah, I haven't played that one. I haven't played, but the Vietnam one. Is that the one you're talking? The Vietnam War one from Victory Games? Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of games, and the problem is too. And I don't know if you're like me, you're always got game designs going on in your head, and it's just a matter. You got to sit down and work it out. But I got to finish the game I've already been working on, which is probably about 90% done. So it's really just a matter of finishing it up. But it is what it is. If some company ever did reprint Origins of World War I, World War II, what would you have them do if they consulted you for changes? I might add a little bit of more sugar and spice. I might. Here's the thing. I would probably say have it so you could still play it as the original. But then I'd also say, but you can also play with these optional rules. Like maybe you have asymmetrical foreign ministers that let you do certain things in certain circumstances, or maybe there's certain kind of cards you can play, or maybe an espionage thing where you can, I don't know exactly how it would work. I haven't sat down and really crunched the numbers, but I think thematically there's some fun stuff you could do with Origins of World War II to make it a little more modern, I guess, because it is, it was 1973, I think, is when that thing came out. Hello from Melbourne, Australia. Well, hello, Jonathan in Melbourne, Australia. Metal Gear Solid can use Spectre Ops as a basis with more put in combat. Yeah, that ought to be good. What game are you most looking forward to get to the table next? Probably that Plains Indian Wars. I'm looking forward to that one. That one looks like it could potentially be a lot of fun. I'm looking at my 2-play shelf, and I got a lot of stuff on there I got to play. But yeah, probably that one. I still got Conquest and Consequence too, and I haven't played that one. I got to play that one. Konami is going to be doing remasters of their older games. They are holding the license until their plans are finalized on. Too many games and too little time to play all of them. How many games are on your shelves unplayed? A lot. Not counting my stuff that I got to review. I don't know, maybe a dozen. I played most of them, but I've got my game shelf videos up now, and I've got a Shelf of Shame video. I've got a Shelf of Shame game on every one of those videos, it seems like. I'm trying to remember. Did you ever do a review of Triumph and Tragedy or Conquest and Consequence? Yeah, I did Triumph and Tragedy. I've got Conquest and Consequence on my 2-play shelf, but I got to figure out a time when I can get back to Utah and play that with some friends down there. What board game has the oldest historical setting you have ever played? Are there any before 1500 BC? Ew. I guess you could say something like Clash of Cultures or something where you begin back then. But I played games like Stone. Man, I played Tusk recently from Gale Force 9, which is like in the Stone Age, the Ice Age, and so I played like caveman stuff, which tends to be a little more cartoony, right? Do you think Fortress America is broken once the red player breaks through around Atlanta? No, but nearly so. I think the balancing on it could have been better. I don't think it's broken, but I think the balancing could have been better. Do you enjoy going to gaming conventions? So the only gaming conventions I've ever been to is I've been to SaltCon a few years in Utah. Really always had fun there. Really enjoyed it. But other than that, the expense and what have you is just too much. I was actually in Dallas, or just outside of Dallas, for 3 years, and I kept thinking I wanted to go to BGG Con, but just it was so much money, and I was always so busy because I was working on my PhD that I just never made it down there. I kind of would have liked to have gone at least once. But Dominant Species 4x4, yeah, Dominant Species is good. Did you play tabletop RPGs at all? No, I've never been an RPG guy. When I was like 10 years old. I was at like Walden Books and they had Star Trek, the role playing game. And I didn't know what a role playing is. I thought it was a board game. So it was like $15. And, I'm a kid. And so I saved up and I got it. I got it home. I'm like, what is this? Where's the board? Where's the dice? And I was so disappointed. And then a few years later, a friend of mine said he bought the Batman role playing game. So we went and we started playing it and we couldn't figure it out. Would have helped if we'd read the instructions, right? But we couldn't figure it out. We were less than impressed with Batman, the role playing game. So I've never been an RPG guy. More power to people who are, but it's not for me. I still have Dominant Species in wrap. I want to tear into it. I haven't played the original Dominant Species, but I played the new one, the underwater one. I liked it. I didn't love it. Who is going to Dice Tower Con in July? I'm going. I'd like to go, but I probably won't. Got to go, Cody. Really enjoy your channel. Keep up the great content. Congratulations on the PhD. It takes a ton of work and dedication. Thank you, Eric. Take care. Any comments on the latest BGG Golden Geek Award for Undaunted Reinforcements runner-up Atlantic Chase? Oh, that's cool. Those are all great games. I hadn't heard about that. Good on them. They're all fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Let's ask about our RPG substitutes. What about Descent? I owned Descent. I bought a copy of Descent when it came out, and I never got it to the table. I ended up selling it. I played a campaign of Imperial Assault, and I had fun with it. But I don't like campaigns generally. I'm not a huge fan of campaigns. How long before it's okay to make a game about war, ongoing Ukraine-Russian war? Yeah, that's boy. When does current events become history? I guess is the question. Hard to say. I don't know. Good question. Blast from the past. I always got a B Dalton guy might say, I remember B Dalton. Yeah, I had a thought about it, but it's a South for me. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us. Got to go. Take care. Okay. And speaking of which, I think we got to head out here too. It's been about an hour. Thanks for joining us. Good chat. Good discussion. And you all take care. Well, there was a distant plane, right? That was while the Afghanistan war was still going on. So. All right. Anyway, friends, take care. It's always a blast. Next week I should come back. I should be back with another game, solo game for you all. So take care, and we'll have fun. We'll talk to you later. Bye bye.